Okay, I think now should be visible on the screen. So we are up to almost halfway down. I'm base of the Aleph, not quite halfway down to where it says Trina. So then we're my Rabbi Shmuel, my Rabbi Kiva. We've been talking about machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva if there is Tumah Belua, meaning Uber is mace, if it's going to be Tumah. And the Gemara told us that Rabbi Shmuel held that the Uber b'me'ima, that's mace, is not Tumah. Rabbi Kiva holds it is Tumah. So the question is, where does this machlokes come from? Zok the Gemara, my Rabbi Shmuel, my Rabbi Kiva. Zok the Gemara, the Tanya we have a Bryce. It says in the pasuk, "Chol asher yiga al pnei asod." Rashi told us, "Pnei asod is mashmit in the open." So from very long, Rabbi Shmuel will hotzi uber b'meish, uber b'meish, even if it's mace, but it's not. It's covered up. It's concealed.
Right.
Only the tumah that's not concealed, tumah that's revealed, only that will be covered. Rabbi Shmuel. That's not what Al Pnei Asad is telling you. Al Pnei Asad is telling you that even the rabbis go over the doifik. Rashi teaches going over the doifik as either going to the top of the organ, the doifik is the walls of the organ. But I believe there's no shot, and I think tells you somewhere where it's the matzivim.
Is it what?
I think Taisha says something that it's the matzivim.
Yeah. It was a machlokes Rashi. Yeah.
So Dr. Gemara. So Rabbi Shmuel go over doifik. How does he know that those are tumah? This wasn't the mirror. That's halacha of Moshe Messina. So Zok to Gemara, Rabbi Kiva over b'nei isha, tamei midiraisa b'noven. How did Rabbi Kiva know that over b'nei isha is tamei? Where does he get it from?
Right.
So Rashi explains that the tamei, you know the tamei, the loy mitar loy mashmu usa dal pnei asoda. But let me ask. Yes, al pnei asoda is not extra because you usually compare going over the life. True. But the Ma'aseh about Shemosh is the prosecutors that something that always been time up in their asada. So Rabbi Kiva would read or Nimud tell us that in fact, even though it's not up in their asada, it's going to be the top. So that's where Rabbi Kiva over b'mei isha tamim b'rais another. But what is Amar Kra and then again b'meis b'nefesh. So if you read the pasuk in its pashtus, which we'll do in a minute, the pasuk. It says, let's scroll up again. It says,
it's still breaking up. I can't. It's not very clear.
How about now?
I don't hear you at all now.
Did you hear me now? I'll keep on talking. I wasn't talking.
Yeah.
Because is it still breaking up?
Not at the moment, no.
So it starts breaking up again. I'll just call you on the phone.
Okay.
So it says in the protocol, and again, b'meis b'nefesh hard. Hard means you can touch your mace, but we're not connect calling the b'meis b'nefesh hard. If you touch your mace, that's inside another person. That's how Rabbi Kiva darshans. So let's see the pasuk. Rabbi Kiva over b'mei imay. Tamid Rashi, Amar Moshe, Amar Abraham, again b'meish b'nefesh. How do you have a mace that's inside a person? That's how we know that it's going to be Tamid. So we have a limit according to Rabbi Shmuel. Star, we have a limit according to Rabbi Kiva that it's Tamid. So it's still a little bit modern because what we're going to have to understand is, so if the default is that it shouldn't be Tamid, that's the default. So then why does Rabbi Shmuel need a raya for?
Right.
So Tosfos has a Hasberg says that the whole thing is only if it's arm out. If we could take a quick look at Tosfos, we might as well to schmuck a little Tosfos. Let's just finish the daf.
Okay.
Now let's finish the not the whole daf, just the sugya. Because we're middle of something. Over to the side. So to Gemara about it. Okay, here we go. Rabbi Shmuel, hi, what does he do with Hamageh b'meis? What do we learn from Nefesh? And the Reviis dam haba min hametz. You know the halacha is even a Reviis dam of a mace is metama ba'oil, just like a mace itself. Zok to Gemara, Rabbi Kiva l'tamei. How does Rabbi Kiva know that a Reviis dam of a mace? He actually holds, according to Rabbi Shmuel, it's only a Reviis that comes from one mace. But one of you took a half a Reviis from one mace, the half a Reviis from another mace, that would not be the time according to Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva holds, after Reviis dam habov shnei meisim is metama ba'oil. He learns that from a different place. Tanya Rabbi Kiva Omer minayla Reviis dam habov shnei meisim shem metama ba'oil. Never be al kol nafshois meis loshen rabim loyovoy shtei nefashois v'shir. So this is a very interesting thing that we want to learn. But first, let's look at the bottom. I think Taisus is at the bottom here. Let's start with it. Yeah, the Taisus on the widest lines, the third line from the top, those widest lines. Zeir Shema Yosy Vlad Rosh. Finish the countries. Rashi says, Shum Darehu Kriyolud. Once the head's out, it's Kriyolud, and then the thigh will be tumbling down. Mashma, the Dafka Nokat Rosh. When we say that the reason why, the Mishnah says that if the thigh touches the baby, it's Tameh, is because Xavier Shemiyot Vlad Rosh. It's only the head that we're worried about, is that would make it born. In Mash repaired Gate to David, now your ledes, Mitama Bifnim, Tibachutz, Omar, what was the case? When Jehoitzim Vlad, Roshoi Chutz Leprosh. Peter of Oish. Mashma from the Perikah to David. Oishi Noka Dafka. The whole problem is Roshoi. If any other Aver, the Uber stuck out, that wouldn't be a problem. It's only if it's the right. Take your Taisus. Now, my number Roshoi. Why is it that way? I feel how it's got a chutz leproizer. Nami nit mahachaya. Shenoga boy or yisita. The soul love to the everybody agrees that it's tummy. If the vlad is tummy, the only reason why it's not tummy is because it's a tummy balua. But if it's arm out, now that's an Abraham and Ames, and it's not balua. So both stop in the rubbish. Why do we need the whole baby to be kiyalud? Even if one neighbor is sticking out, that's mace. It's not a tummy balua anymore. So why is it not going to right? That's Taisus got. Yes, Shlomo is a Taisus. Maybe the Xeris Akasopi, maybe it's the Xeris Akasopi, the Achi Yehi Kiyulud, maybe it's a bad thing. Even an arm out is not going to be Tumah Balua, it'll be Bitama. But there's a Xeris Akasopi that Achi Yehi Kiyulud, until this Uber that died is considered born. It will not be Mitama. It's a Xeris Akosov. Where is the Xeris Akosov? That is Kubar Bishmos Xeris Akosov. Hidadorish Me'al Panei Asoda. Now, the question is, what was the kasha that I introduced with? First, something from Shmuel needs a person to tell you that Tumah Balua is not Tumah, and over is not Tumah anyway, because it says Al Panei Asoda.
That's Mashmais of the pasuk.
Sorry?
That's the Mashmais of the pasuk.
That's right. But the Hashtan Nisa had the Tzorach of Yishmael the Medrash Tana Mikra. The Tamei Pashut, the Tumah Balui. It's Pashut that it's a Tumah Balua. So under the pasuk, Elamishum the Levit Tamei Bahatzi Yadoi Achi Ekilud. That is the Chiddush of Rabbi Shmuel. That even if the baby stuck its hand, and that hand is no longer considered a Tumah Balua. So it should be Tamei. Something the puzzle of Pelei Asada. until the whole uber is out, it will not be metama. That's not al tumah belua. That's a new din of an uber. An uber is not going to be metama. No part of it will be metama, even if it's part of it is not belua. It will not be metama until the whole uber is out. That's the chiddush of Rabbi Shmuel. That you want to know stamazoi from the Mashmos up now. That you need a yitir loshim to teach you a chiddush. That meikar din if an uber stock turns out, it should automatically be tame because now it's not a belua.
Right.
Kamash malon that by an uber the special position goes until the baby is born, it will not create any tumah. It's a big chiddush.
So Roshai would be yeah.
Sorry.
So therefore Roshai would be Kil Yilud.
A Reviis with what?
Would be Kil Yilud. If
the hand goes out, it's not born yet.
Right.
Hand goes out, then it's The Rebbe Kiva nami like Paul. And even though Rebbe Kiva holds a tome, but even Rebbe Kiva, he doesn't hold that if the Chaya stuck her hand in to the rechem, that there's an issue over there. No, he holds that. That's how we say that even an uber is tame. That's only if it stuck its hand out, so it's not a tumah belua. So maybe Rebbe Kiva holds that the tumah belua is not a tumah. But dafka by hunts Shiur, where it's not a tumah belua, dafka over there. So Zot to Gemara, that's mamish a thing from Kiva nami like Paul the Chain mashma, and it makes sense to learn shot like this. You know why? The Loi Tema I'll leave with Rebbe Kiva mashma. The Gemara said earlier that the reason why the Gemara says that don't say that the reason why the Mishnah says that if a chaya touches the baby, the chaya is tummy because of Rebbe Kiva. Rather, it's going even according to Rebbe Shmuel because of the snug zayah. So Zot tells us that's what the Gemara means. Don't say that the reason why if the chaya touches the baby, the chaya becomes tummy because of Rebbe Kiva. The Rebbe Kiva also must listen to pshitos. The easiest way to learn from the mitzvah chaya is tummy is like Rebbe Kiva. The Gemara, but that's not true because it's don't learn like Rebbe Kiva that the chaya is tummy midoraisa because he touched the arm of the baby that was no longer tumah belua. Rather, it's only midoraisa because we know kulai b'mei isha atu haitzi yada because your geyser kulai b'mei isha is going to be tummy atu haitzi yada which will be tummy. But if Rabbi Kiva would make ikar din, aser, make you tummy, if it's b'mei imay and nothing sticking out, afilu lo yotza l'chutz klal, or the heck misukma mestis ali ben, the chayes may be shter. But the Gemara wanted to say, we're telling you you would have propashed this word that the mission is going according to Rabbi Kiva. That's why the chayes is tremendous. That's why we have to tell you, according to Rabbi Shmuel, because I'm saying. First Tarsus, how do you have a havamina to say that the uber b'mei imoi, even though it's a complete tumah belula, it will be metama? If that's the case, then why is the chaya any different than the mother? If the uber b'mei imoi is completely metama, there's no problem with tumah belula. So how could you possibly say that the Mishnah is going according to Rebbe Kiva? The Mishnah says that the mother's tar. So it must be even Rebbe Kiva's moida that the only way there'll be a tumah deraisa is if the baby sticks its arm, and now the arm is not a tumah belua, and it's only a derabanan that we're gozer. It's only a gozer that it sticks its arm out. It's going to be tamei. So we'll be gozer that even if it doesn't stick its arm out. The chaya touches the baby, it will still be coming up to that the baby could take a sound out and then it'll be a tumah deraisa. But by the mother, you don't have that. So that's the only way you can really say that Rebbe Kiva is the author of our mission. But at the end of the day, what is Rebbe Shmuel? Rebbe Kiva is full al moida. If the baby is completely lechem and it's dead, it will not be metam anybody. It's no belua. Full al moida. If the baby sticks its arm out it should be metama. It's no longer to a beluah, but the Shmuel learns in the Xeris HaKosim to say that it won't be metama unless the baby is born to
Yeah.
Now there's another very interesting discussion. It seems over here like there's a machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva. If you can have a Reviis done from two separate mason, would that be metama? Right?
Right.
If you notice, look at the last line of the Gemara is the kol nachus meis lo yaboy shtei nefashos v'shir shir. Clearly, Rabbi Kiva is learning that the Reviis dam is merely a shear. Now, Rabbi Shmuel, there's a little bit of a problem because there's a Mishnah that lists off all of the halachas where the shears are Reviis, and the Mishnah lists off Reviis dam haba mishnei meis, but the Mishnah does not list off Reviis dam haba b'nefesh. So the shaila isn't that also Reviis? Is
but what? It doesn't list off what?
A Reviis dam from one mace. Only a Reviis dam from two mace. So yes, for us. So there's a Rav Kinak. I guess he's involved with the new. Rabbi Raz spoke over Rav Kinak. I'm going to give you is that the machlokes Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Shmuel is what is Reviis dam? Is it al Shiur, which is Rabbi Kiva shita? And the other dam is metama. No, you need to Reviis it. So however you can combine the Reviis, that will be good enough. Rabbi Shmuel says no, dam is the metama. The nefesh is metama. A Reviis dam represents is the adam or not? So therefore, only if you have a Reviis dam of one person, then they represent enough. A little bit from this base, a little bit from that base, there's no nefesh over it. So therefore, according to Mishmal, Reviis dam is not a shear. It's not a shear at all. It's a nefesh. And the nefesh is not.
So what's nefesh? So what's nefesh then?
That's Tosis. So Zot Tosis, it's spelled without the vav. So Rabbi Shmuel could hold Yesh Aim Lemikra. If you look at the small Tosis, it's a small little Tosis. Stay in the Pasha. The Shmuel told me the Yesh Aim Lemikra. When the Pasha is Ksiv and it says Nafshus without a vav.
Right.
So that's a beautiful way to understand the machlokes of the Kiva and Shmuel is dam the etzem metama. You just need a shear of it, or is dam not metama? It's the nefesh that's metama. That is really a siman that we have nefesh.
Right.
Okay, let's talk more about it. This is a long mission, and we learned part of it already. So that's clearly Eber Menachai. But it was not metama, the breast of the uber that it was touching, because the shechita wasn't done yet, and therefore the uber inside is not getting oichel. It's not mekabel. So the aglav shochet is inoi habasar tar, because at the time when the basar touched the piece of Eber Menachai, the basar was not enough. Shochet is inoi biyachid nachatcha. Now a basar is not in nevela, because Eber Menachai is coming to nevela. According to authorities, the basar of the uber was touching the basar of Eber Menachai. So therefore, it's magen nevela, meaning it will become a rishon. Divrei of Meir. Chachamim Mairim, maga treifor shchuta. It's not an nevela. Discussion is going to be, why is it that this animal is a treifor shchuta, not a nevela? Eber Menachai. Well, let's turn over on Talmud please. Mamatzinu v'treifa sheshichitas and just like a treifa, if you shech, it will not have tumas nevela. So even though the shechita will not be matter b'achila, but at least it'll take off tumas nevela. Av shechitos behema titer as a. So too, you can hear the concept that even though the shechita doesn't work in order to be machshir the basar lachila, but at least it'll take off the Isser of Eber. Amar Meir, Zok Meir, why would you say that? Can't compare this Eber Menachai to Treifa. Loyim Tia Shchita Streifa, I saw Davar Shagufa. Just because you're going to be matir, the actual animal that you shechted by a treifa, because you're shechting the actual animal. Tinter as an Aver, Davar Shchita Gufa. Why should the shchita of the mother work for the Aver? That's not the mother. It's a different, being. Yeah. And it doesn't have the halacha b'toifa. So yes, shchita on an animal will do it on the animal. But why was shchita on the animal A do it on animal B? This is completely separate. So the Mishnah like it. The treifa shchita some animals. The whole premise is based on from the Chachamim who argue in Meir say that a treifa the shchita with Tayrasa. How do you know that? Zok Gemara, I'll tell you how I know. The Hema Tameya is a surabach. You know that you're not allowed to eat the Hema Tameya. You're not allowed to eat a horse. After the surabach, trade was similar. So the argument will be proved there. Ma Hema Tameya in Shchitas and Mitaros. After the Lois Tarena Shchita. So that is the first impression you think is to say that Shchita should not be Mitar. So tomorrow, when you can't bring the right from Behemoth. There was never a time where a behemoth tameya you would be able to shech and it would be kosher. A behemoth tameya is not a shechuta. It's not in the parish of shchita. But the treifa, this animal gufa was the parish of shchita until it got kin treifa. So who said it loses the chakra to treifa to shchita? It could be a nishchat. Nervous, you're not allowed to eat it. But about is still Ishka. So time of betrayal, Shoyshel Shas kosher. So the Gemara, now I'm going to feed you back your own shvar. What about a treifa that did not have a Shas kosher? Toylach Masha Veis. We'll give you right back what you gave. You're telling that a treifa is a Shas kosher. I should know the treifa from an abundant. You hold that the shchita is matar, even the animal that was born as a treifa. According to you, it should be no different than a behemoth man. Zakbar, no. Even a treifa that never had a shas kosher is still better than a behemoth tameya, so it's still a din shchita. Why? Lots of moment with behemoth tameya, shekin ain't b'mina shchita. There's never any type of shchita ever on a behemoth tameya. However, treifa sheyes b'mina shchita, treifa behemoth is a dishcha if it became treifa later. So even though it's treifa from its birth, it's still smart to say it's not like a behemoth tameya, and the shchita should be mitar. However, you know where we all agree that the shchita wouldn't work? By ben shmoinach. If a baby was born, a behemoth was born premature, which the Gemara holds that animal would never survive. So it was a dead animal, even though it was alive. Everybody agrees there that ain't shchita mitaros. Shachting a ben shmoina that was born still alive right before it drops dead. Shachting it will not help; it will remain in the vela. Any animal that's born prematurely will never have a hektar shchita because it's dead. First, Gemara, I don't understand. How could you say that the arm that you cut off that was sticking out is going to be mitama? The rest of the animal, I tumas base as a sorm the tumas base as sorm loy mitama. So it's very important for us to make the distinction between a tumah balua and a tumah base as a sorm. Tumah balua means it's inside a goof. But tumas base as a sorm is not. Tumas base as a sorm just means the area where the tome is touching the non-tome is not visible. So you can have an animal that's completely born. It's not balua at all. But if you cut its arm off, the part that you're cutting off is only touching the main animal where they're connected. You can't see them. It's not like a two separate items. You can see them both and then touch them. As I'm cutting the leg off, the part that's touching is not visible. And therefore, the tumas base as a sorrow, you know, there's a halacha that when something is touched in a way where you can't tell, it won't be mitah. Now that's a machlokes to know. So Zok the Gemara, must be that our Mishnah is Rav Meir Tamei, who happens to hold that there is Tumas Beis as a sort. There's no issue, even though you can't see the place where they're touching. Nevertheless, it would still be tummy. Where is this Nageya? By a beggar. The new halacha is, in order for something to be able to be tummy Tumas Medris, there has to be at least 3 tefachim by 3 tefachim, because that's a beggar that's big enough to sit on, stand on. Now, Tumas Medris has a very big height. A zov is an avatum. If a zov touches the beggar, that beggar becomes a rishon. But if a zov sits on the beggar becomes an avatum. And not only does the beggar become an avatuma, if someone else touches that beggar, he will become an avatuma, and his begotten will become Tumas Rishon. That's how Chomer the Tumas Medris. So what do we got? Shloisha. So you have a beggar that was Tumas Medris, and then Shenecha cut it in half. So now it loses its Tumas Medris because it's no longer something that could be sat upon. It's small. So therefore, it's Tarmin Medris. But it still is Tomei of Tomei Maga Medris. Why? Because it touched itself. The body touched itself, so it touched a Medris. A beggar that touched a Medris becomes a Rishon. And because it's a Rishon, it can no longer be Metama other than Ketlim, but a Rishon can still be Metama or Fulamash. So a man holds that even though the loss of Tumas Medris, but he look at it like it touches it. He doesn't have a problem because the time of Rabbi Yosy, this beggar didn't touch a Medris. It was itself a Tumas Medris. And now when you cut it, it's nothing. But was there anything touching the Tumas Medris? The moment you cut it, it's Ice Medris, it's not mine. So the only place that would be Negea is Shimnoga you have to tell me not must be referred to where not only did it become Tamid Medris, not only did the Zov sit on it, the Zov touched it as well. Well, they don't touch it all. The Lamai said that 2 times. Tosfos says that in speaking, where first the Zov touched it, and then the Zov sat on it. Why? Because if the Zov sat on it, it became already a higher level of Tumah. We say Sava Tumah. It's already fully saturated with Tumah. It can't become a lesser level of Tumah. It can't become a Maga Medris if it's already a Medris. It must be first it became a Maga Medris, and then it became a Medris itself. So it means it's a build-up, and then you can have both Tumas. So even though you got rid of Tumas Medris because the beggar was torn in half, it still retains its original Tumas Maga
Medris.
Now, so let's the Gemara chart. Tell me Rabbi Yosy. And the problem here is, if you look at Tosfos, you'll see that. So if you look at Rashi, we have a massive problem. Rashi says, the Rashi after it got split and it's lost the Tumas Medris, how did it touch anything? So either if the Zov stepped on it, he was barefoot. So Maga and Medris came together. Or after he made it to his Medris, then he touched it. So this is a very shver Rashi, because as Tosfos said, it's already soiva tuma. It's already fully saturated with Tumas Medris. How can it become a Tumas Maga Medris after it already is Tumas Medris? That's the Rishonim talk about it. The Rishonim talk about it. The Rishonim talk about it. How do you understand this? There are those who make a little bit of a catch and say only the after Shadarish love means only the after Maga Shadarish. So in fact, first it became Tumas Maga Medris. So Zok Gemara, we've just illustrated that there is a machlokes between your mayor and your Yosy. Your mayor holds that you have Tumas Beis as a sword. Because how is it possible that your mayor should have tummy? It must be that the about this beggar is touching that beggar. That's That's too much base serve. Before you cut it, it was touching. In other words, the fact that it's touching before you cut it, that's too much base serve. The parts that are touching, the two surfaces that are touching, are connected to each other. But if you're bigger, you see the tumah transmits to you. Zokumar, that's not a kasha. You don't know what the case is. The case is not like what you think, that it became ois tumas medrash once you cut it. Rather, pulvikir. The only time Reb Meir holds that the tamei lo yishanu el shloisha al shloisha shenechla. Sorry, the only time Reb Yosy holds that it's not going to be tamei magen medrash shloisha al shloisha shenechla, because as we're cutting it, it's ois tumas medrash. As it's becoming royal to magen medrash, it's ois medrash. So you never have a point in time where there's tumas magen medrash and tumas medrash at the same time. Because at the moment it's ois medrash, it's gone. So that's where Rabbi Yosy says there's going to be Ezer medrash not. Albo, shalosh al shalosh, habois mi beged godol. What if you had a huge cover, it's tummy medrash. Then you cut a small little patch of 3 boys or 3 boys out. There, even after you cut out shalosh al shalosh, the main beged is still tummy tumas medrash. That's where Rabbi Yosy says. That's where Rabbi Yosy says. There, even Rabbi Yosy would be minded of forget to the tummy. As it's being separated from the main beged, mekablos tuma me'aviyah. So Rabbi Yosy would agree. Now the question is, you'll ask me the same thing. As you're cutting it, it's not connected, and what's connected is tumas beis hasasar. Zok Rashi, you're cutting a beged. There's fibers that are sticking out, that are disconnected. It's impossible to be so careful that the fibers that are already cut from either side of the beged won't touch each other. Unless you're stretching it as you're cutting it, it rips apart. Normally, when you cut a beged, even the part that's cut, the fibers will touch each other until it's totally separated. So therefore, this is a regular case of you had the main beged was mamish medrash, and it stays medrash because it's big enough. The little piece that you're carrying off, that's losing its too much medrash because it's too small. It touches after it touches not the base of the sword, it touches the main beged, and that's why you tell me. And that's what everybody agrees that it's tummy. Everybody agrees that it's tummy. So therefore, in our Mishnah, it's the same thing. Anami b'shas prishoson the aver the kabel to the me'ev. As you're cutting it, there's going to be some pieces of meat that are put in the touch that was cut already, but was not the basis for sorry. So you want them to say, our Mishnah going to measure? No, our Mishnah according to Kula Alma, everybody agrees. Such a case, it's going to be touched. Therefore, it will become tough. That is the teretz of Ula. Amar beged lav lechatich. Normally, if you have a beged that's 3 tvachim by 3 tvachim, you don't cut it. You leave it complete. But over the this over, it's over to cut it. You know why you have to cut it? Because it's Eber min Achar. And you have to cut it off the main behema. So this is Oimen Lachnoi. Oimen Lachnoi, the Chatavta. It's going to be cut. He says Chatavtami, and therefore it's not based as a sort. Because they're touching, but you look at it like it's separated. Why? Because it's Oimen Lachnoi. So I would laugh like the Chatavtami, and therefore it won't be Tumas basis. Come on. So who holds to that? Who holds? I would laugh like the Chatavtami. Why do you got to come out there, Bear? You're trying to say it's going to come to Kulama, and it doesn't go to a Bear who's becoming the Tumas basis as Orim. Well, then you're going to have to come out to the other Bear. The I would laugh like the Chatavtami. It's non. Let's say you have a pot. Normally, the pot would need a handle that's 12 inches. But in the roughing of the pot, you put in a handle that's like 36 inches long, you're going to trim it. But right now, you haven't trimmed it. So, but eventually, you're going to cut it off. If it became tame, you don't have to toilet the whole keli. Only up until 12 inches of the handle, the other 2 feet can stick out of the water. Not like makamita. If you remember, you have to toivel the whole thing. So you see, only according to Reb Meir, Do you say that the valve you're going to cut the handle off? You look at it like it's cut. Therefore, it's not too much base as a so tomorrow, no, Afidu Tamer Rabbanan, even the Rabbanan who hold over there, you have to cut the handle off or you have to toil it off. By meat, by cutting off a neighbor, he would agree that you say the Chandler. Why? Because Chibur Oichlin, the man the Mirfrashida. Meat is softer, it pulls apart. There, even the Rabbanan would hold Kachadar. Therefore, in the Giba Adam, but a wooden handle that came with the hard, that he doesn't say Kachadar. Now the Thomas asks the question: Zol Zayin, it's Kachadar, but why isn't there a Chatzitza? It should be a Chatzitza.
No.
Because the end of the handle, according to your mayor, according to the Rabbanan, the end of the handle is a Chatzitza to the handle. It's not the Chatzitza Tami, and then we have to turn the whole handle. You turn the whole handle, how is it going to help? There's a chatzitza. That edge of the handle that you didn't cut off is a chatzitza.
That's what right.
So let's see Toshus, the second to the bottom Toshus. Not the Mokin Mida. The time of Idich, Lava Chatzitza. It's going to be chatzitza. Davin Miude Makbit, the Miude Makbit, Chatzitz, the Kalim, Kamayado. Ishlemar, so Toshus is very innovative. Don't think we're talking about a long wooden handle. Talking about a handle that's a chain. The handle was a chain. So the Mela, there's no chatzitza because every link, the water will get in between it. Therefore, it won't be a chatzitza. Let's just get to the two dots. So now we have two terutzim in the Gemara. We have the teretz of Ula, who says that while you're cutting it, there'll be some pieces of meat from either side touching each other. That's how the uber becomes maganavik. So that's why the Mishnah says that if you cut off the arm, after the shechita, it's matama, because when you cut off the arm, that will make it ois negia space as a sort, and it'll make it into a proper negia, and therefore it'll be matama. According to Ravina, even if you don't cut it, it's not called too much space as a sort, because it's overlapped. So I believe my chassid. Why does the Mishnah say that if you cut off the arm after the shechita, then the over becomes tummy? Even before you cut off the arm, the over is tummy, because it's kechat tummy.
Right.
Zok to Gemara, you're right. I need to the Reisha Chatka. The Baal from the Reisha Chatka to tell us that if you cut it off, it will not be tummy, because the over is not royal to become tummy at all. So we need to finish it. Even the chatka won't be mitama before the shechita. So therefore, Tananami said the chatka, but Avada, according to Ravina, who didn't even avoid chatka, the uber is coming even before you cut off the arm because it's the chatka.
Right.
Think about it. So stop here, Jim, or we don't have tomorrow.
You're leaving soon?
I'm leaving hopefully within 10 minutes.
And you'll be back for the morning.
Well, if I leave, let's say I'm out by mid, let's say I'm talking about mid, it takes 8.5 hours. So the 7 o'clock here, I'm going to have to say in the car. And then I'm probably going to stop davening. So I'll probably be still be in the car at 9 o'clock. So I'll probably be in the car.
Okay.
So schmack it out tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Have a safe trip.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Betsy, did you bring it over yet? I hope your brother-in-law brought it over because we're packing up.
The what?
Betsy Bench is on, and he's sending me a package to bring back to Toronto. So he's having somebody deliver it to them. So hopefully we'll have it on time.